Go tell the weatherman I said I want it sunny outside today. No darkness into my emotions. So tired of living in yesterday. Go tell the weatherman I said all the rain from last year's pain is gone. Go tell the weatherman I sent good thanks for all the things that he's done. Sun's down now, it's nighttime. Catch me drifting on a fine line. Ooh, it's pouring rain, gotta get inside. So tell me, weatherman, what's it gonna be? Blue skies for the days. Great time stole my faith. Mother Nature's fine with his hidden plan. You may not understand, most don't. No. Go tell the weatherman I said I want it sunny outside today. No darkness into my emotions. So tired of living in yesterday. Go tell the weatherman I said all the rain from last year's pain is gone. Go tell the weatherman I sent good thanks for all the things that he's done. I was caught up in my past life. Yeah, notice some things you cannot change. So tell me, weatherman, what's it gonna be? I tune in all the time just so I can see the Mother Nature's fan with his hidden plan.
Hello and welcome to Term 3 of iScience Radio. So it's me, Flo and Emma back as presenters this week, and we have Gabby as well. Emma, how was your Easter break?
It was very nice, very relaxing. It was good to have the time off. I mean, we were technically meant to be working, but no, it was really nice. It was a good break.
Yeah.
And
Any fun things?
I went home. I enjoyed the spring weather. Now I can't remember what I did for the whole month.
It's been like only 2 weeks ago, but
yeah, I
not
did do
too
nice
bad.
things though.
Yeah.
It was good. I had some friends visit. I visited some friends. Yeah, just like saw people. It was nice.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you?
Lovely. I went on the Imperial ski trip, which was very fun. Yeah. So that was right at the start. So good sort of quick break from uni. Then went home for a bit, which was very chilled. Saw my parents, my sister, and then I went to Spain actually for a little weekend. But then it was mostly then, as soon as I was back in London, just full literature review, methodological review for the DIS. Gabby as well, how was yours?
It was good for the first half. I saw some of my baby nieces and nephews, and I found out my cousin was pregnant, which I was so excited about. But then the second half I got sick and was just stuck inside.
No.
But other than that, it was pretty good. I managed to knit that cousin a little baby blanket, which was very nice.
Was that leftover skills from the group project?
Was leftover. I'm so glad that I learned that.
Oh, I love that. At least it didn't like ruin it for you and you still want to do it.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Great. So after that, I'll introduce you to this week's episode. So it's actually Mental Health Awareness Week this week. So we've themed the episode loosely around that. We'll be updating you on mental health events happening around campus and listening to 2 radio packages from science media production students Minnie and Coral, which are linked to sort of mental health areas. And as always, we'll be bringing you some of our favourite music. Please note that this episode contains sensitive topics of mental health and suicide, so please bear this in mind before listening. First on the music agenda, though, we have Ti Amo by Phoenix.
So don't
on campus this week, a whole host of mental health awareness events are going on, from yoga and painting to talks and mental health walks. You can find the timetable of events on the Imperial website by searching for Mental Health Awareness Week. Now we have Gabby with the news.
Thank you guys for having me again. So as you can see outside, it's getting warmer and sunnier, which I think we all want to take advantage of. But I've always hated one thing about being outdoors, and that is the mosquitoes. I hate getting bit, and I feel like I'm always being bit. Maybe this is a reason. A new study that was published in the journal iScience, different to us, of course, noted that certain soaps can make people more attractive to mosquitoes. So this study quantified how human odor can be affected by the soap we choose, and found that soap can alter if you are chosen by a mosquito or if you're repelling a mosquito. So mosquitoes use volatile organic compounds, VOCs, emitted by plants and animals hosts to find their nutrients. So basically, if they're not feeding on our bodies, they are taking in plant nectars and similar sources. So people who usually or regularly use personal care products like soaps or shampoos in their routines may be attracting these mosquitoes because these soaps can add such compounds like the VOCs to their products. So we put these fruity and flowery smells on us, and then along with us just being a person, that makes us the ideal host for the mosquito. And, I'm kind of questioning myself now. But the 4 soaps that were tested in the study were Dial, Native, Dove, and Simple Truth. Ooh. And even though the well-known mosquito repellent limonene was present in these chemical compounds for these soaps that were tested, the mosquitoes were not dissuaded. So the soaps that were tested of Dial, Dove, and Simple Truth ended up actually increasing the attractiveness to mosquitoes, so be aware of that, while Native soap repelled it. Now, Native soap may have repelled it because there's a slight coconut scent that it has, and that's kind of been known to be a repellent to mosquitoes. So if you are choosing a soap and you're not allergic to coconut like I am, choose Native soap.
Oh no, Gabby.
Yeah. That's interesting. Native is in the brand Native.
Yeah,
so I've got their deodorants, the solid deodorants. They smell amazing. I did have a coconut one. I've now got a blackberry and something one. But maybe do they have coconut on it on all of them? Because if they probably do.
I think maybe just for the soap.
The OG.
It's the main.
Does the deodorant work?
Yeah, I really like it actually. Wow. You can refill it, so it's sort of better for the environment.
That's good.
But the thing is, I think the Native one might be not UK based, and it was before I knew about the Wild brand. But I prefer the Native, the case. This is going a little bit off topic, but I prefer the case of Native because it's like a roller. But then the Wild one, it sort of catches your skin sometimes when you sort of flick it round.
Oh, I see.
But that's just personal preference. Yeah. But they smell good actually. And sort of a bit better for just changing them around rather than keep buying new ones.
Yeah.
And cool scents as well, usually quite a lot. But okay, good to know about the mosquitoes as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I've already got bitten so much, from a couple of times in the park this last few weeks.
I've not been bitten yet, but hopefully.
I know it's coming for me.
Yeah, sometimes I get a lot, and then sometimes I don't get any. It's weird.
Interesting. Know. I mean, maybe we need to look into these soaps.
Yeah, true.
I'd rather avoid if I can.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, Gabby. Before we hear our radio packages, we have our second song by Radwimps called Tummy, which is Sharon's pick.
今から宣戦布告二人の子供にきっと僕嫉妬すんだよきっとそうだよああもう想像つく君と血がつながっているなんて羨ましいやつだって大人げなんてこれっぽっちもなく耐えられなくなって頬濡らす根掘り葉掘り生まれて間もないその子に僕は尋ねてみたいお母さんのお腹はどうでした僕が見れない景色はどうでしたさぞ素晴らしいさぞ美しいと月10日の旅だったんだろう僕よりも彼女を知っている君が嬉しくてどっか悔しくて Welcome to the new world From the tummy of such a mighty little girl For the rest of all my days when I say beautiful You're beautiful I'll be always talking about you Your mom now hey Welcome to the new world From the tummy of such a mighty little girl I can't find a better reason to live for I'm here for I'm not gonna say no I'll never I'll just keep it in my arms Oh 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 負けてばかりもいられないよちよち歩きもおぼつかない我が子だろうとそこは手抜けないさあさあせいせい堂々とこの勝負を子守歌なんてもんも読み聞かせるような本もあなたには必要ないおとぎ話はいらないあなたが生まれるまでのままの話をしようこのようなとこにもない物語俺の人生を時に粉々にしたり引っかき回してみたり眩しすぎるってくらいキラキラにしてくれたり出会うまでの俺の日々をただの予告編に全部独り占めにしたがりのままの作戦にまんまと俺はかかったんだよいつか君もわかるよ全部使ったんだよ一生の分をあの時と一生分ギュッと詰めてもやっといけるかいけないかくらいのラッキーの使い道と使いどころを知ってたんだWelcome to the new world From the tummy of such a mighty little girl For the rest of all my days when I say beautiful You're beautiful I'll be always talking about you, your mom Now hey, welcome to the new world From the tummy of such a mighty little girl I can't find a better reason to live for I'm here for I'm not gonna say no, I'll never I'll just keep it in my arms Always mine, you better keep that in your mind Exception will be never made in case of any kind I kept that oath my very first But you're the one who broke that first Listen to me, I'll never say twice I won't tell you much, so be strong, not this My days were in you, I'll always love you But second to your mom, of course I can't give it to you Whenever you're in lack of someone else Or maybe something I can't find a better reason to live There's nothing better to touch you to guarantee you that little boy From the tummy of such a mighty little girl For the rest of all my days when I say beautiful You're beautiful I'll be always talking about you, your mom Now hey, welcome to the new world From the tummy of such a mighty little girl I can't find a better reason to live for I'm here for I'm not gonna say no, I'll never I'll just keep it in my arms
Now, we all probably know someone who suffers from migraine, but if we're lucky enough not to have them yourself, it can be difficult to know just what it's like. In the UK, we lose 250 million days of work due to migraine. It's a truly debilitating neurological condition and is often dismissed. If you suffer from migraine or have any audio sensitivities, be aware this report contains reconstructions of some of the effects of migraine. Our science reporter Coral has been speaking to the experts and people who suffer from the condition.
The worst migraine attack I've had was a Friday night at Gatwick Airport. I think it was the really bright artificial lighting. And I had a really stressful day at work and I had caffeine. I think all those things combined just set me off. But I got really, really bad aura, so I couldn't see properly out of my left eye. And if I held my hand up to the side of my eye, I just couldn't see my hand. I just totally lost my peripheral vision, which was actually really quite scary because I'd not had that before. And I thought I might be having a stroke. I was there with my boyfriend at the time and I was very close to getting him to go find a paramedic or something. The aura went away and then I just got a really, really severe headache, which was really painful. Made it onto the plane and then just kind of passed out asleep. But towards the end of the flight, I was really, really sick, which was horrible. And then I remember after the flight, just feeling like I was going to collapse. I just had a headache the whole time, felt really kind of exhausted and weird. And to be honest, it did just kind of ruin the weekend for me, as migraine attacks often do.
That's Rachel Baxter. She has suffered from migraine for many years, and now she works for the Migraine Trust as a communications officer raising awareness. But what is the science behind migraine? At King's College London, Professor Peter Goadsby is researching the mechanisms behind headache disorders.
So migraine is a syndrome. It's not just one thing, but it's this collection of really disabling symptoms that make it very difficult for the migraine to function. The core part of the attack, if I could say it that way, or the pain part, will be very often severe, very often throbbing, one-sided pain associated with nausea, so sometimes with vomiting, certainly with light and sound sensitivity, photophobia and phonophobia, and many sensitivity of smells, and particularly an effect where movement, ordinary movement, makes the pain worse.
Now, it's hard to imagine what migraine must be like if we haven't experienced one. Let's listen to a normal London street as if you were suffering from the audio-sensitive or phonophobic aspects of an attack. And that's just one of the many symptoms migraineurs endure. But there are charities out there like the Migraine Trust to support sufferers. One thing they're trying to do is change the perception of migraine through awareness weeks. Here's Rachel Baxter again.
This year we did one focusing on migraine in children and young people and the issues faced by them.
So is there a lot of work to be done, especially in education, surrounding migraine? Is there any awareness at the minute of migraine in schools? Does that need to change?
So we hear from a lot of parents of children who struggle with migraine at school, whose teachers aren't particularly understanding. There's a real lack of awareness in some schools. A lot of teachers get training on certain health conditions like autism and epilepsy and asthma and things like that, but there's generally not really anything to do with migraine.
Without enough support from teachers and schools, teens suffering with migraine and their parents are turning to social media to find out more. Jake Kelly, Digital Officer at the Migraine Trust, is trying to make sure their advice is accessible to all.
So me and the other communications officer, Rachel, we look at social media in two different ways, I think. One is our main social media channels, that would be Facebook and Twitter, where we try to incorporate what we post on social media as a way to help us reach my goals, be that more visitors. We want to then look at reducing our bounce rate. So we try to use social media to really boost the pages we see as not performing well. But we also use it to inform future web pages, blogs, for example. But then we've got the likes of Instagram and TikTok are such a good way for us to reach out to the younger audience. We see from analytics that they're not the ones visiting our website. So once we reach them, hopefully through those channels, we will hopefully see the numbers increase.
Now, if I just search in TikTok for migraine support, yeah, lots of their videos, and if I just have a quick scroll through.
I'm not being overdramatic when I say that I would rather sit naked on a hot grill than wear something off the rack.
What's your drink of choice?
A Negroni.
I was going to say the same thing.
Magliato. With Prosecco in it.
Oh, stunning.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really good ones in here. I can see how this is effective for a younger audience, but there's also lots of helpful hints about treatment options, especially new ones like CGRP. Back at King's College, Peter has been working on this new drug.
Calcitonin gene-related peptide, or CGRP to its friends, is important in the migraine attack, and if you block it or block its effects, then you can stop attacks and you can prevent attacks. They're remarkably useful and remarkably well tolerated. No one with migraine should feel abandoned or should feel that there's nothing that can be done. Literally, the options for treatment are changing year upon year. And if everything has failed you, even when you hear this, chances are in 2023 there'll be things that you haven't tried. So an important message is don't give up.
Okay, and that was Coral on migraines, and I thought it was quite, because I've never had a migraine, thankfully, and to sort of hear how badly it can affect your physical, like those symptoms sounded extremely horrible, but also the mental health aspects as well, like the stigma, maybe making people feel isolated or like they don't have anyone to turn to, or that people aren't just going to think it's a bad headache or something.
Yeah, exactly. I've also never had a migraine, so I can't fully ever know what that's like, but I also thought that package was really good at giving you an insight into what it feels like to have one.
Through the thing with the street sound, and like it all sort of going in and out of your ears, different earphones. It gave, weirdly, the sound gave a real sense of like the sort of what's the word, like sort of
the pulsing.
Yeah, the pulsing. Pulsing
the pain.
of.
And having an aura sounds crazy.
Yeah,
I can't imagine.
Awful.
Not good.
Yeah, not good at all. And also that particular person they were speaking to, like going on a plane, and you just got to go on with your. In that situation, she either could not go on holiday or she would go on the plane.
Yeah, exactly. So debilitating.
Yeah. Okay, well, yes, thanks, Coral. That was really insightful. Gave us lots to think about. Our next song is with the purpose of bringing some positive and calming, funny vibes, and a bit of nostalgia, which
we love it.
Hawaiian roller coaster ride from Lilo and Stitch.
There's no place I'd rather be, lingering in the ocean blue. I'd surf till the sun sets beyond the horizon, flying by on a Hawaiian roller coaster ride. Ah, viki viki mai rohi rohi, na la 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 ita la hana hana hede hede mai tato he. There's no place I'd rather be, on golden sand is where I lay. I'd play till the sun sets beyond the horizon. It's time to try the Hawaiian roller coaster ride. Hang loose, hang thin, hustle, shake and shaka. No worry, no free, ain't no biggie brah. Cutting in, cutting up, cutting back, cutting out. Right side, back side, double-footed wipe out. Let's get jumping, surfs up and pumping, coasting with the motion of the ocean. Whirlpool swirling, cascading, twirling. There's no place I'd rather be, lingering in the ocean blue. I'd surf till the sun sets beyond the horizon. Flying by on the Hawaiian roller coaster ride. Ah, biki biki mairo hirohi. Ina la 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 la. La 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 ita la na na. Hede hede mai tato e.
That was Hawaiian Roller Coaster Ride from Lilo and Stitch. And on to our second feature of the episode, we hear from our reporter Minnie, who investigated the developments in psilocybin research. There is also a warning that this report covers sensitive topics of mental health and suicide. Here is Minnie to tell us more.
Psilocybin, which is a psychoactive compound found in magic mushrooms, has been an active area of psychedelics research. Researchers at Imperial College were the first in the world to study its effects and its uses in treating severe depression, and these studies have now allowed clinical trials to take place. But what has caused scientists to turn to alternative therapies? Dr. Rosalind Watts, the clinical lead of Imperial College's psilocybin trial, shares her experiences after working as a clinical psychologist in the NHS.
The model that we used as psychologists was cognitive behavioural therapy. So cognitive behavioural therapy, previous to when I kind of came into clinical psychology, had just been brought in as this new super treatment that was going to solve everybody's mental health difficulties in a few sessions, and it was seen as this kind of wonder treatment. And so we were all at UCL, we were kind of taught to use this model, and my experience of it was that it was really ineffective. I was working with people in Tower Hamlets, which is one of the most deprived boroughs in London, and probably, up with one of the most deprived places in the world, actually. It was extreme levels of poverty and many, many people living in small flats that weren't fit for living in, and huge pressures. And I think, they were coming in they'd been to their doctor to say, that they were really struggling, that they had really bad depression, that they were feeling suicidal. And then they were sent for a few sessions of kind of cognitive behavioural therapy. And the team were amazing. Everybody really wanted to help people. But in a few sessions of cognitive behavioural therapy, what you're really focusing is saying to somebody in a huge amount of distress, just think differently about your experiences. Try and think more positively. And it felt like a real sticking plaster, and it didn't work at all.
By turning away from CBT, Watts entered the world of psychedelics research, which was experiencing a renewed interest after its ban in the 1960s. In clinical trials, conventional antidepressant treatment was compared with psilocybin therapy. However, Watts argues that there should be focus on the similarities between the two study groups.
And what both groups had, what was standardised, was quite a long therapy intervention, which you can call psychological support or call whatever you want, but essentially it was each person in the trial had many, many hours with two therapists in their session with them. And it was either a psychiatrist or a psychologist or two therapists, but, two clinicians with them for many, many hours, so much longer than you would ever get in NHS therapy these days. So the results we found were that both groups did well. Their depression scores came down. There was not a significant difference between the two groups.
So, is psychedelics therapy actually effective in treating depression? While Watts argues that the style of support provided during clinical trials is key in treating depression, she also believes psilocybin and psychoactive compounds allow patients to open up to therapy. Her research follows the concept of connectedness.
What connectedness seems to be from the research participants that I've interviewed is, the way I formulated it, is that people describe being trapped in a little prison in their mind, so kind of stuck up here in a little kind of, little mental prison, lots of rumination, anxiety, fear, thinking about the past, worrying about the future, kind of ego mind constantly berating you and telling you that there's things to worry about and threats. And then to a greater or lesser extent, some people are kind of besieged more by their minds than others. And that's a state of disconnectedness, just living up here, very individual, very separate. And then the process of becoming more connected is like a kind of expanding lens that goes from existing just up here to your lens of kind of awareness, including your senses, your emotions, your body. So this ever widening lens, your senses, your emotions, your body, other people that your loved ones, family, friends, acquaintances, it's getting bigger and bigger, acquaintances, people that you've never met, strangers, all of global humanity, animals, birds, nature, trees, the oceans, a sense of universal love. And then the widest level is a sense of interconnectedness of all things. So it's this connecting to everything. And psychedelics do often make people feel more connected to nature, often more connected to their emotions, and often sometimes connected to a kind of spiritual principle or a sense of being part of an interconnected web of life.
Despite these capabilities, Watts argues that we should not consider psychedelic treatments as a miracle cure for depression and other mental disorders.
Although there is a lot of promise with psychedelic therapy, although it can really lead to some great outcomes, I think it's the hype of it, the hype of it is an overhype. And I don't think if psychedelic therapy is brought in, I don't think it will live up to that hype eventually. I don't think it will be shown to be completely life-changing for pretty much everybody, and everybody has these experiences that they say are the top 5 of their life. If you think about CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, that also had a massive hype about it. CBT was a big thing in the world of psychology and psychiatry. It was touted as the next miracle cure, and it was the same. It was the hype. There was billions invested in it. It was going to save everybody. So I think there is this part of us as humans that suffering with the suffering that we go through with our depression, anxiety, just experiences of living in a society going through immense change and challenge and pressure. So I think we're all just looking for something that's going to save us, and whether it's this thing or the next big thing, there's this like desperation for the next miracle cure. There's been this sense that the media and the science, like everybody is together really focusing on the positives. Like we don't, we're really distinguishing ourselves from the previous time. But I think the pendulum has swung. It swung very far, obviously, in the 60s into this is terribly dangerous and will make you jump out of a window, or, some crazy misinformation in the 60s about all sorts of things that LSD might do to you. And now the pendulum has swung the other way to this is a miracle, life-saving cure that's going to just make everybody better and save the world. And I think the pendulum will hopefully come back to the middle where it's like, this is a tool in the toolbox of therapists and can be a really important creative pursuit for people looking to explore themselves. And when it's done safely and well with good support and good preparation and integration can be helpful, but it can also make people worse. It can also make people go psychotic or manic. And if it's not done, it's not going to be for everybody. And when it's not done safely, it can lead to all sorts of, it can reactivate trauma that's been dormant, and people, if they're not given enough therapeutic support afterwards, could really find themselves struggling.
And that was Minnie on psilocybin research. I found that really interesting to listen to. Quite cool as a sort of development in that area. So I've heard quite a lot about it even before listening to that. But I thought one interesting thing was how one of the people Minnie was speaking to was talking about the how like people are seeing it as like a miracle thing, and that we still need to like tread carefully and like make sure it works well.
Yeah, I liked that. I thought it was true that realistically, I suppose, there is no one trick, one magic solution to all ails that we all suffer from as humans. So that was a good point, I thought. I didn't realise that there was such a hype, because CBT maybe was before we were super aware or adult to be reading about those types of things. I didn't realise the same hype was around CBT at the time as this cure. So it was interesting that it's kind of another thing. It's something to add but not its own all solution.
Yeah, like she was saying, like it's another tool for like how we can sort of think about treatments for it and everything. I also like have seen a fair bit of like one documentary I watched was like really praising CBT and sort of maybe dismissing listening therapy. It was Stutz, dismissing maybe accidentally, but dismissing sort of more sort of talking therapy that is less to do with cognitive behavioural changes, but more to do with understanding why and things. Yeah. Sort of dismissing that as not effective, but obviously sometimes that type of therapy can be really effective for people.
Yeah, everyone's different.
Yeah, exactly. In a nutshell, everyone's different. Yeah, exactly. And I think it sounds very cool. I feel like I would definitely try it if like a clinician was like, oh, this could help you, because it's all about like making you dive deeper and maybe helping you to sort of see things in different ways. Yeah. So I could see that really helping.
It reminds me a little bit of how people would talk about taking ayahuasca in South America, that for some people it's therapy and life-changing in a good way, and for others it's a really traumatic experience and something that they come away being like, don't do it, please. If you're happy, just leave it alone. And then other people say, it's changed my life, it solved my like lifelong addiction problems and things. So it really impacts people differently.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm pleased to hear that they're going to trial it, and hopefully in a clinical setting. Here it would be sort of trying to figure out like dosages and sort of people's experience and who would be most suitable based on a certain set of criteria, and hopefully that can minimise.
True. And then some people just might not do much at all. It just depends.
Yeah,
it's all in there.
All in the differences. And I think that brings us to the end. We've had a very sort of different sort of show to usual, playing a couple of packages which were really interesting. So yeah, that's it from iScience Radio today. Thank you everyone for listening, and goodbye.
Go tell the weatherman I said I want it sunny outside today. No darkness into my emotions. So tired of living in yesterday. Go tell the weatherman I said all the rain from last year's pain is gone. Go tell the weatherman I sent good thanks for all the things that he's done. Sun's down now, it's nighttime. Catch me drifting on a fine line. Ooh, it's pouring rain, gotta get inside. So tell me, weatherman, what's it gonna be? Blue skies for the days. Gray times stole my faith. Mother Nature's fine with his hidden plan. You may not understand, most don't. No. Go tell the weatherman I said I want it sunny outside today. No darkness into my emotions. So tired of living in yesterday. Go tell the weatherman I said all the rain from last year's pain is gone. Go tell the weatherman I sent good thanks for all the things that he's done. I was caught up in my past life. Yeah, notice some things you cannot change. So tell me, weatherman, what's it gonna be? I tune in all the time just so I can see that Mother Nature's fine with his hidden plan. You may not understand, most don't. Go tell the weatherman I said I want it sunny outside today. No darkness into my emotions. So tired of living in yesterday. Go tell the weatherman I said all the rain from last year's pain is gone. Go tell the weatherman I sent good thanks for all the things that he's done.